Welcome back to the platformer project. I've done some work while we were away. Mostly I've added a collision mesh to the outside of our level here. You can see these blue lines. That's an automatically generated collision mesh. You can do that by clicking on your mesh over here in the inspector, and then up here at the top it'll show a little button, and then I created a tri-mesh static body, and it generates the stuff for you. It does a pretty good job. You might have to make a collision mesh in Blender later, but for now this is what we'll be using because it's just a prototype. This is for us to get things up and running. Also, I remade the player. It's now a rigid body. I don't know why it says static body over here in the node, but it's a rigid body. I had a little bit of a mishap with the node, so I had to remake it. And when I was remaking it, I discovered that by using translate, you're gonna have to simulate all the stuff on your own, gravity and friction, and you'll also probably have trouble doing collisions from what I read. So rigid body has all that built in, and it works really great with the collision shape we gave it earlier, because if you built the translation player that we did in our second video, you would notice that it passed through objects, and that's because I think the CSG mesh doesn't read collisions. I'm not sure on that one, but rigid body takes care of collisions for us. It also takes care of gravity and friction and a couple of other different things that will make building our player a lot easier. So what I've done inside of our code for the player, actually, yeah, not much else has changed outside this. Like I said, we still have our collision shape, our CSG sphere, and the camera. It's just now a different order. The root node is a rigid body, followed by collision shape, and the rest of it. Okay, I think that's enough explaining on that half. Let's take a look at our script, because I've made some changes here. Our old input, we used to just use if statements down inside of our delta, inside of our function process delta. Remember that delta, the function process delta runs every frame, so this is stuff that's going to be happening constantly, which makes it great for input. And what I've done was I wrote a new function called getInput, and it does the same thing, except it now has a vector 3. Force is our vector 3 that it's got here. I've got a little bit of redundancy in the script, I think. Could fix that later. But for now, this is working, so I'm going to leave it. I think it actually works both ways, but I don't want to mess with it right now. I've got it working, and that's the important thing. Anyway, we have a new variable, force. It's a vector 3. It's empty right up here. But down here, we are giving it a value of movement speed on the X to move us forward. And because rigid bodies use force to move, we are using the method add central force, and the amount of force is our vector 3, and that's it. We do the same thing for the rest of our movement code, and that's how our player now works. And if we come back into our game and give it a run, we can see that we fall to the ground and collide with things. We also, I don't know if you saw it bounce a little bit. It used to tumble over and over endlessly, but I think I managed to fix that. I can't tell if there's a problem with the mesh collider here, but if you go really, really fast, you will find yourself falling out of the level. So that's one more for the bug list. It probably has to do with the collision mesh here, but what we'll probably do later on is make a entirely new collision mesh. I was checking the manual, and there's a couple of different ways to do this, so we'll do a video probably covering that later. Question I had for you guys was, do you like this format where the video is a little bit longer, more explainy, and I do things in a live manner, or would you prefer lots of short videos that get to the point but also while covering progress on the platformer? I left a poll on the group on Facebook, so you guys go there and let me know what you think. Also, thank you guys so much for subscribing. That's all we're going to be doing today. I think tomorrow we might try to work on some, maybe get some jumping going on. I'd like to see that. Since we have our input and forces figured out, we could probably easily implement jumping in here. So that'll be what we do the next time. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button, share it around. I appreciate you all for coming, and I'll see you next time.